You know, it's tough out there for white game devs trying to rewrite a black man's legacy, rewrite his entire history. What I'm referring to, of course, is Ubisoft's ever-continuing effort to double down on rewriting the history of Yasuke, the sword bearer to Nobunaga during the Sengoku era of Japan. You might be wondering, why does this matter? Why is this company getting so wound up over this, and why are they forcing this to be their protagonist in the game? One of them, anyway. Apparently, you have to play both of these in order to complete the mission. You have to play Naue as well. Now, Naue is, of course, the native Japanese, whereas Yasuke is an African slave that's brought to the shores of Japan. Now, we have not been shown how that process happens. Rumors from within Ubisoft suggest that Yasuke will be a survivor of a slave ship that encounters Chinese pirates, who thus then, cause the destruction of the slave ship, and Yasuke washes ashore in Japan, where Nobunaga's like, hey, you're really cool, have a suit of armor and a sword, you know how to be a samurai, right? And apparently in the 15 months that Yasuke stayed in the service of Nobunaga, he became a legendary samurai, because you can learn Japanese that fast and then also learn proper samurai technique and code and ethics and the history and root yourself in the culture and become accepted by thousands-year-old bloodlines at this point. Yeah, right. That absolutely happened, Ubisoft, you bet. But this is the first time that Ubisoft has set out with the Assassin's Creed brand to make a protagonist that you play an actual historical figure, and also to make that protagonist, that is the hero of the game, mind you, he shares it with Naue, but he is the hero of the game. That protagonist is the first in the Assassin's Creed line to be a foreigner, fighting for a land he is not native to. And it's very strange that they chose Japan, of all places, to focus this kind of racist, hatred, exclusionary behavior as well. Just ask yourself, why can't they tell the story of Sengoku Japan through the eyes of a Japanese citizen? Why do they need a foreigner to do it? Well, it's because they're very fragile. As Grums shows us here, the executive director of the Assassin's Creed franchise as a whole just can't handle Elon Musk tweeting out 3 words. That's it. It wasn't a long paragraph, it wasn't a death threat, it didn't have anything directly to do with this man or his creation, really. It was more of an observation of just what's going on with the DEI mind virus. So here we are. Grums has this to say, and he says, Elon Musk breaks Ubisoft's executive producer of Assassin's Creed Shadows. Says he had to use this guy, this creator here, this Côté as he is. He said the director's name is Côté. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. He's French, so I believe that's Côté. And it says Côté had to use an app on his phone to calm down and explore his feelings. Ooh, his feelings. Yeah, this is why we don't have Rockstar game devs anymore. Well, how about that? It's not Rockstar as in the game company, but we just don't have cool guys making cool games anymore. We have a bunch of people that need an app to calm down after seeing naughty, nasty things on the internet. Making a great game takes balls. It's hard, really hard, especially when trying to do something new or passionate. That's why you don't see it in AAA anymore. AAA gaming. Plug dollars in, plug 9 to 5 devs in, rotate the crank, spit out a sequel. That's the machine that they're in. And thanks to Grums, we don't need to give PC Gamer a click, because these people, wait until you hear how they twisted this whole thing, okay? They say this, they said, Assassin's Creed Shadows executive producer says Elon Musk is just feeding hatred with his reaction to the game's black protagonist. Musk claims that the use of the historical figure was part of an initiative that kills art. Oh my glob. Can you believe it? That somebody would say something on the internet? Oh my gosh. Let's go on and find out what they said. They said this. They said that. This is Côté talking about his experience, by the way. And he says, that tweet generated emotions that the first thing I wanted to do was go back on X. But like, I deleted that because I gotta show solidarity or I'll lose my job. And then I just wanted to tweet back at Elon. And then I just took a step back. I have a mindfulness app on my phone, and I did a bit of mindfulness to try and explore the emotions that this tweet created. Okay, this is the executive producer of an entire gaming franchise. It's approaching its 15-year anniversary. Might be over that by now. It's at its 15-year anniversary, at least, or it's approaching it. This guy is out here saying, I had to open up an app on my phone to remind me that, like, my feelings are totes complex and can't fit into a tweet. This is who's running Assassin's Creed, a game about killing evil, alien-influenced humans that are trying to gather power to take over the world and kill, basically, the human experience, enslave everybody. It seems like they've already been successful. He goes on, though. PC Gamer goes on, and they say, on May 24th, Elon Musk decided to throw his opinion into the mass, replying to a tweet about the game with, quote, brace yourselves, if there are small children in the room, you might want to, like, cover their precious innocent ears. These next 3 words are totally going to, like, obliterate them. They are going to need a safe space, like this guy did. Remember, Côté? He needed the safe space. So it is DEI kills art. Oh no! Someone said it out loud! Oh no! Oh no! Elon Musk, he said it and people pay attention to him. If you need an app to help your feelings right now, feel free to just jump on to your good old YouTube where you're at right now and head over to Tokusatsu. That's right. You don't need to pay Assassin's Creed any money. You can watch Japanese tokusatsu movies and television programming for free over on Tokusatsu. This is not a paid promotion. I just hate these people so much that I want to send you guys to free content that's definitely going to entertain you more and is not going to insult you by asking you to care about 3 words on Twitter. Okay? We're adults. As far as I know, Côté is an adult. We'll see him in a minute when we find his picture on the internet here. Right? And he's exactly what you'd expect, by the way. But let's go on and hear more about how PC Gamer turns this into a World War II retelling like they're in the London Blitz, like Edward R. Murrow. Anyway, DEI standards for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and is a policy, DEI stands for that, by the way, and is a policy that organizations can use to promote equal treatment and involvement of all people who are usually underrepresented. It was exactly a nuanced take. It wasn't exactly a nuanced take, right? Okay, I'm just doing that, right? I'm just clapping in your ear right there. You know how the SJWs do? They're like, it is DEI, right? Just clapping in your ear. You're welcome. So, let's just peel this paragraph all on its own, all right? We'll get to the bottom one about him complaining about his emotions, but let's stay up here for just a second. If DEI promotes this, why was the entire dev group possessing no black males? I don't believe there was even a single Asian male in there, let alone males. At least none that identify as male, let's put it that way. You can go ahead and check out our previous videos on this where we bring up the dev team for Assassin's Creed. You know, again, like, I have to ask you, if it's about DEI, what's this then? These are the 2 guys that are the executive. This is director of the game on the left. This is the creative director of the game on the right. You got Dumonte and Benoit here, all right? Respectively. And they told the Japanese to their faces in a publication titled Famitsu. That's the name of the publication that they said this to. They told the Japanese to their faces this. They said, we were first looking for our samurai, someone who could be our non-Japanese eyes. Can you think of that being put anywhere else in the world, right? Can you think of that being applied anywhere? We needed our non-African eyes. We needed our non-Chinese eyes. We needed our non-Israeli eyes. We needed our non-Palestinian eyes. No! Those guys would be drug out into the street 2020 style. That's what would happen to them if they tried this. But for whatever reason, it's okay to do this to the Japanese. For some reason, the hard, crazy, need an app to calm their emotions down left, Côté and his group, they need non-Japanese eyes to tell the story of one of the most tumultuous times in Japanese history and culture. Okay? The Sengoku period isn't like this divine place where everything was going great and everybody loved everything. It was an intensely violent time. One of the most violent times. Not the most, but one of the most violent times. And it directly leads to one of the most heinous genocides in history. So this again, these are the people right here. By the way, again, I'll point your attention to this. No black guy. If DEI is all about getting people who wouldn't be involved before involved, what's this? What's this? And guess what? Guess what Côté looks like? Oh, wait! Oh, no, guys! He's not black. If DEI is supposed to give these people an opportunity, Côté should have stepped right out of the way. He should have been like, whoop, nope. I am not the race that should be making this game if we have the intention of making a black protagonist. Remember the big fight over Cleveland Brown from the Family Guy being played by a white guy? You remember that? Remember the fit everybody and their brother had about that? But here's Marc Côté saying it's perfectly fine for him as a white guy to go around complaining about DEI being rejected by other people when his version of DEI is all 99% white development team, 100% not black male development team, 100% not male Asian team. Are you getting the picture yet? Are you getting the picture yet? But let's go back to this whole mess right here, all right? So Elon saying 3 words has now resulted in what's to happen next. And Côté says, that tweet generated emotions. The first thing I wanted to do was go back on X that I had deleted and just tweet back at Elon. For me, Elon, it's just sad. He's just feeding hatred. I had a lot of 3-word replies that came to mind. Kind of like the 3-word reply that you needed an app to calm down from, friend. Is that it? The same kind of 3 words, maybe? And he went on to say this. He says, by attacking someone like Elon, I will not convince people our point of view as a team. What's your point of view, right? Your point of view is this, right? We'll go back over here. Do you remember this? Do you remember the hip-hop soundtrack that they put behind Yasuke's battle scenes? Yasuke never set foot in America, and he walked the earth and died before the U.S. was ever a country. Why are you putting hip-hop music behind his battle scenes? Why? Why? I remember all the Italo disco in Assassin's Creed 2. You know, I remember all the Middle Eastern hard bass techno that was in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, right? Don't you remember all the Israeli dance pop that was in Assassin's Creed 1? Don't you remember that? Don't you remember all the Israeli dance pop? Don't you remember all the references to modern culture in all of these games? Don't you remember that? No, you don't. Because up until now, Assassin's Creed has done everything it can to at least present itself as historically accurate, or at least pretending at least to be 90% historically accurate, I guess. Again, I stopped playing this franchise at Assassin's Creed 3. That's not to say it was a bad game, I just had no interest in Assassin's Creed 4. But this is what's happened since then. So why? Why is a man that lived in the 1500s, died before America was ever really considered that, excuse me, the United States was ever really considered that. I don't even believe in the 1500s we were a colony at that time. I think it was, it might have been pre-Roanoke even, I'm not sure. Again, correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments below, but this is what Assassin's Creed Shadows is trying to pass off as Sengoku Japan. A 5'10" African slave wearing the crest of the Nobunaga clan, hacking down fellow members of the Nobunaga clan in broad daylight, by the way. Now, in this clip, as I've stressed before, the man that Yasuke beheads in this clip is not historically accurate. He's not a guy from the time period. And we'll see it right here. There it is, and swang. See, this, again, this, right? I want to put in perspective, okay? Japan is now accepting a great deal of foreigners, all right? Now, when I say foreigners, I don't mean those darn foreigners coming in stealing our gerbs. No, I'm not. Japan uses the term foreigner as a catch-all for anyone who isn't Japanese. So when I use the term foreigner, I'm speaking as the Japanese speak about this. These are outsiders that are coming to Japan to either resettle or take an extended tourist trip, if you will. Japan's lacked some of their immigration standards recently. And so more people who otherwise previously wouldn't have qualified for citizenship are now entering the country. Naturally, this makes a homogenous culture like the Japanese a bit uncomfortable. Now, they're accepting, there's not riots in the streets, there's nobody trying to start a race war over there or anything like that. However, in a time period when the Japanese feel that their culture is weakening, is feeling that their place as Japanese in their own country might not be as secure as they thought it was, guess what these devs at Ubisoft decide to do? They decide to make the protagonist a African fella that lobs the heads off of historical Japanese figures, because eventually he's going to have to. He's not going to be able to do this without eventually running into Nobunaga. And according to the story that we understand so far, is that Nobunaga comes into ownership of one of these blessed swords from space, one of these alien artifacts that possesses him, and he goes on a rampage. So eventually you're going to have to deal with Nobunaga. You're going to have to deal with his upper clansmen. What's going to happen then? Well, of course, Yasuke, a guy that would have never have done this at all, ever, he was a sword bearer, a servant of Nobunaga, and I would assume very grateful for the role that he has compared to where he came from when he came onto the islands, when he arrived on the islands historically as a slave of Christian missionaries. Okay? So you have this happening now, where the Japanese in real life are having a sort of a cultural crisis, and these leftists that need an app to calm their little feelings down because 3 words on the internet sent them into a tailspin, they think this is okay. These are the same people, by the way, the same people that need an app for mindfulness to explore their feelings. Yeah, they're just going to tell the Japanese, screw you. An African man came to your country and fixed it, set you free. And also, from what we understand from the devs themselves, this game is going to use the Christians arriving in Japan as a vehicle for the Templar to exact their power over the nation. Now, if you're not familiar, you can go ahead and take a look at the Shimabara Rebellion in history, right? And this happens probably about 75 years after the events of this game, right? But the Shimabara Rebellion is based on the daimyo lords, which is what Nobunaga is, the guy that currently owns Yasuke in the history of this story anyway. Maybe not in the setting and the fictionalization of a real man's life. But I digress. The Shimabara Rebellion was, in my opinion, the most brutal and excessive. There's no way to really say a genocide's excessive. It's a genocide. By its very definition, it's excessive. But it was a religious genocide in Japan in the 1600s that is now basically in this world, in this world that they've made, in this world they've set up. The Templar trigger this, okay? And thus the Japanese are now justified in carrying out this genocide in this setting's own history. If it follows Japanese history from this point, and that Shimabara rebellion does happen in this, again, the game won't go that far. But if this is the history they're setting up, right? This is the history they're setting up, that the Templar come through with the Christians. And if that is the case, that means that the Shimabara rebellion, when the daimyos went around killing the Christians in order to hold on to their power, because the Christian worshippers and the churches had started steering people away from the daimyo's control into the church's control, right? And so they went around brutalizing these people. And again, this was burning them alive, putting them up on a crucifix, nailing them to the crucifix in the middle of a town so everyone could see what happened. This meant killing their families. This meant beheading them and putting their heads on pikes for people to see. This was all incredibly brutal stuff in order to scare people out of worshiping Christianity, okay? And now this game has basically justified all of that by allowing the Templar to come in and tamper with Japanese politics. These are the same people that need an app to help their fifis when they see 3 mean words on Twitter. DEI Kills Art almost sent the executive director of Assassin's Creed the Assassin's Creed franchise, almost sent him into like one of those panic rooms that he needed to go and hide in. This is what we're dealing with. This is who's in charge of these franchises. And this is what they believe. They believe you and I are nothing more than this. That's it. We're just our skin color. Anything beyond that is annoying for these people. It's too complicated. So they just boil everyone down to a racial stereotype, like putting hip-hop music behind a guy that never set foot in America and lived at least 200 years before there were even colonies here. Okay? Think about it for a little bit. Okay? Just think about it for a little bit. That it may not be your fault. It may not be that you're the bad guy. It may be that these game devs are freaks. It could just be that. But until the next video, good luck out there.